My daughter cut me off after the divorce without listening to my side of the story. And now, 8 years later, she only contacted me to get inheritance. She even sued me for it. I'm 56, male, and to be honest, I didn't think I'd ever find myself in this situation, let alone talking about it like this. But here we are. Maybe it'll help someone, maybe not. All I know is, I need to get this off my chest. Let's rewind a bit. 8 years ago, my world fell apart. I was married for 23 years, had a daughter, C, who was my everything. Thought I had a decent life, regular stuff. Working hard, providing, doing my best to be a good husband and father. My wife and I had problems like anyone else, but nothing I thought was insurmountable. Until she blindsided me with the divorce. She left just like that. No long, drawn-out fight or dramatic screaming match. Just walked out one day, and then I got the papers. She moved on quicker than I could process, taking up with some guy she probably knew long before she decided to end things with me. What hurt the most wasn't even her leaving. It was how C reacted. She was 19 at the time, old enough to know better, I thought. But the moment her mother told her whatever story she spun about our marriage, C shut me out. Completely. No phone calls, no texts, not even a damn email. She sided with her mother, took her word as gospel. Never even gave me a chance to explain my side. I tried, believe me, I tried. Left messages, sent letters, even showed up at her dorm, hoping she'd let me in. She didn't. I wasn't a perfect husband, but I never cheated, never abused anyone. Yeah, we argued about money, the future, but that's normal, right? But see, she made me out to be some kind of monster. My daughter, who I'd held when she was sick, taught to ride a bike, stayed up late helping with math homework. She erased me from her life as easily as hitting delete on a keyboard. That was 8 years ago. 8 years of silence. I can't tell you how many nights I lay awake, wondering what I did that was so unforgivable. Wondering if I'd missed some crucial moment, something I could have done differently to keep her in my life. I lost more than just a marriage in that divorce. I lost the only thing that ever mattered to me. My daughter. Then last week she called. Out of the blue, like no time had passed. No apology, no acknowledgement of the years she'd cut me out. Just a cheerful, "Hey Dad, how've you been?" Like we'd spoken last week. My heart was racing. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, relief, fear. I swallowed all of it and tried to play it cool. "See? Wow, it's been a while," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She laughed like it was some big joke. "Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? Life's just been so busy, but I'm thinking we should catch up. There's something important I need to talk to you about." I should have known. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. I wanted to believe maybe she missed me. Maybe she finally realized that she hadn't been fair. Maybe she'd grown up. So we met at a coffee shop near where she lives. I was nervous, excited even. I had all these scenarios in my head where she apologized, we talked through everything, and somehow things would be okay again. But the moment I saw her walk in, something felt off. She was dressed nice, designer clothes, expensive bag. She looked good, but there was this air about her, like she was better than everyone else in the room. Not the C I remembered, the one who used to steal my flannel shirts and complain about my terrible taste in music. She hugged me, this stiff, polite thing, and sat down across from me. "Dad, it's really good to see you," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I fumbled through the pleasantries, asked about her life, her job. She gave me short answers, all surface-level stuff. Then she got to the point. "So," she began, leaning in slightly, "I've been thinking about the future, planning ahead. And well, I wanted to talk to you about your will." I blinked. Not sure I'd heard her right. "My will?" "Yeah," she said, smiling again. "I mean, you're not getting any younger, and I just want to make sure everything's in order, like what's going to happen with the house, the savings, all that." There it was. 8 years of silence, and the first real conversation we were having was about what she'd get when I die. I stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "That's why you're here? After all this time, you want to talk about my money?" She didn't flinch, didn't even seem embarrassed. "Well, yeah, it's important, Dad. I'm your only child, after all." My blood was boiling. I could feel the anger rising in my chest, but I tried to keep my voice calm. "You haven't spoken to me in 8 years, C. Not a word. Now you want to come back into my life because you're worried about what you're going to get when I die?" She rolled her eyes, like I was being unreasonable. It's not like that, Dad. I've just been busy, okay? Life happens. But now I'm here, and I'm trying to have a responsible conversation. Don't you think it's better if we settle things now, so there aren't any surprises later? Surprises? I repeated, incredulous. You cut me out of your life without even asking me what happened with your mother. You ghosted me for nearly a decade, and now the first thing you want to talk about is my will? Jesus, see, do you even care about me, or is this just about the money? She crossed her arms and leaned back in her chair, looking bored. Dad, don't be so dramatic. Of course I care about you. I've got plans, okay? Big plans, and I need to know what I'm working with. I stared at her, this stranger who was once my daughter. I didn't even recognize her anymore. Big plans? You haven't spoken to me in years, and now you want to make big plans with my money? What about your mother's inheritance? Surely, she's taken care of you. Her expression hardened. Mom doesn't have much to leave. You know that. I need your help, Dad. I've got a business I want to start, and it's expensive. There it was, the real reason. She didn't give a damn about me. She just saw me as a checkbook, a means to an end. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. Unbelievable. You walk back into my life, and the first thing you do is ask for money. You don't even care how I've been, do you? She shrugged, like it didn't matter. Look, Dad, we can sit here and argue, or we can just be practical about this. You're going to die eventually. Why not make sure your money goes to someone who'll actually use it wisely? That was it. That was the moment I knew I'd lost her for good. I stood up, my hands shaking with anger. You know what, see? You're right. I will die one day. But don't worry, you won't have to concern yourself with any of it, because as of now, you're not getting a damn thing. Her eyes widened in shock. What? You can't do that. I'm your daughter. Funny how you only remember that when there's money involved. I shot back, my voice low and steady. But let me make one thing clear. I owe you nothing. You made your choice when you decided to walk out of my life. You don't get to waltz back in and make demands. She stood up too, her face flushed with anger. You're being ridiculous. I have a right to that money. It's my inheritance. No, I said, stepping closer, lowering my voice. You had a right to be my daughter. You had a right to be in my life. But you threw that away. And now you have nothing. She opened her mouth to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I turned and walked out of the cafe, leaving her standing there. My heart was pounding, my mind racing with everything I wanted to say, but didn't. I drove home in a daze, replaying the conversation in my head. How had it come to this? How had my daughter turned into someone so cold, so calculating? I thought back to the little girl I used to know, the one who would crawl into my lap and beg me to read her just one more bedtime story. The one who used to say she wanted to marry someone just like me when she grew up. That little girl was gone, and in her place was someone I didn't recognize. That night, I sat in my empty house, staring at the walls, wondering where I'd gone wrong. I wasn't perfect, but I didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve to be treated like a wallet, like my only value was tied to the money I could leave behind. And that's when I made my decision. I called my lawyer the next day and updated my will. Everything, my house, my savings, my investments, would go to charity. Not a penny to see. She had shown me who she was, and I couldn't pretend anymore. I had to protect myself, even from my own blood. After I made the call, I felt a strange sense of relief, like I'd taken back control of my life, of my legacy. I wasn't going to let her greed define my last years. It was painful, sure, but it felt like the right thing to do. I thought that would be the end of it, that maybe C would get the message and leave me alone. But I underestimated her. A few days later, she showed up at my door, unannounced. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. When I opened the door, there she was, with that same practiced smile, looking almost sheepish this time. Dad, can we talk? She asked, her voice softer now, almost apologetic. I hesitated. What's there to talk about, C? I said everything I needed to say at the cafe. She sighed and looked down, playing the part of the chastised child. I know, and I'm sorry for how that came across. I didn't mean to upset you. I was just trying to be practical, you know? But I get it. I was wrong. I've missed you, Dad. Can't we just start over? Start over? After 8 years of silence and betrayal, she wanted a clean slate. I wasn't buying it. But part of me The part that still remembered the girl she used to be, wanted to believe her. I stepped aside and let her in. We sat in the living room, awkwardly at first. She fidgeted with her hands, like she was nervous. Dad, I've been thinking a lot since we talked. About everything. About how I've treated you. I know I've made mistakes, and I really want to make things right. I don't want to lose you. Her voice cracked a little, and for a second, I thought I saw genuine emotion, but I knew better now. This was part of the game. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. Go on. She took a deep breath. I shouldn't have brought up the will the way I did. I can see now how it must have looked. But the truth is, I'm in trouble, Dad. Here it comes, I thought. The real reason she was here. She'd softened me up with the apologies, but now she was going to twist the knife. I got in over my head with some business deals, she continued, her voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. And I owe a lot of money. I didn't know where else to turn. Mom can't help, and you're all I have left. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. So, you want me to bail you out? Is that it? She shook her head quickly. No, that's not what I'm saying. If you could help me a little, I could pay you back. I swear. I just need a loan, something to get me through this rough patch. I sighed, the weight of it all pressing down on me. See, you didn't talk to me for 8 years. Not a single word. Now you come back, and the first thing you ask for is money. You really think I'm gonna fall for this? She blinked, her eyes wide. Dad, no, it's not like that. I thought maybe this could be a way for us to reconnect, to rebuild our relationship. I know I messed up, but I'm trying here. Don't you want us to be close again? There it was. The emotional manipulation. She was good, I'd give her that. But I wasn't the same man I used to be, the one who would have done anything for her approval. I'd learned the hard way not to trust so easily. I stood up, signaling that the conversation was over. See, I don't know what you're expecting from me, but it's not going to happen. I'm not giving you any money. And as far as reconnecting goes, that ship sailed a long time ago. You made your choice when you walked out of my life. She stood too, her expression hardening again. The tears that had welled up in her eyes disappeared in an instant. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm your daughter, for God's sake. You're seriously going to leave me with nothing? I held my ground. I'm leaving my money to causes that actually matter, see, to people who might appreciate it. You've made it clear what you care about, and it's not me. Now I think it's time you left. She glared at me, her face twisting in anger. You'll regret this, Dad. You'll be alone with nothing but your precious will. And when you're lying on your deathbed, don't expect me to come running. I met her gaze, my voice cold. I've been alone for 8 years, see. I think I'll manage. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I watched through the window as she got into her car and sped off, the taillights disappearing down the street. I didn't hear from her for another few weeks. I thought maybe that was it, that she'd finally given up. But then, a letter arrived from a lawyer representing her. She was contesting my will, claiming I was mentally unfit to make decisions about my estate. She wanted to declare me incompetent and seize control of my assets while I was still alive. The audacity of it stunned me. She hadn't just given up, she was escalating. This wasn't about family anymore, it was war. I called my lawyer immediately. She's trying to contest my will, I said, barely able to contain my anger. My lawyer was calm, reassuring. Don't worry, she has no grounds. You're perfectly within your rights to leave your estate as you see fit. We'll fight this. And fight it we did. Over the next few months, there were court hearings, evaluations, legal wrangling. C's accusations were baseless, but that didn't stop her from dragging me through the mud, hoping to wear me down. She painted me as a bitter old man, clinging to grudges, unable to see reason. But I stood firm. I wasn't going to let her win. Not after everything. In the end, the judge saw through her lies. The case was dismissed. My will stood as it was, and C got nothing. I thought I might feel some sense of triumph, but all I felt was a deep, lingering sadness. It hadn't had to be this way, but she had made her choice, again and again. I still think about her sometimes, wondering if she'll ever realize what she's lost, but I don't hold out hope anymore. People like her, they don't change. As for me, I'm at peace with my decision. My life may not have turned out the way I'd imagined, but at least now I have clarity. I've done what I needed to do, Everything's in order now.